A summer day in 2011, I'm driving with my two kids in the back of the car. Axel is 4 and Ella 2. It's a Friday afternoon and we're heading up to our weekend place in the Swiss mountains. My phone rings. It's my friend Fauzi. Uni, turn on the radio. There's been a bombing in Oslo. I turn on the news and yes, there's been a huge blast in the center of my hometown. As a young girl, I couldn't wait to get out of there. First, I left as an exchange student to Kansas. Later, I moved to Paris, Boston, and Geneva, and for 20 years, I didn't look back. But at that moment, learning that Norway was under attack, it was still my home. As soon as we arrive, I turn on CNN, I put the kids to bed, and I'm glued to the TV the rest of the night. The next morning, we learned the police caught the guy responsible for the bombing and a shooting spree on an island near Oslo. One man. And he isn't Al-Qaeda. He's a Norwegian, just like me. Anders Breivik killed 77 people that day, most of them teenagers. He grew up a 20-minute drive from me. Right before his attacks, he published his manifesto online. Almost 1,600 pages full of statements such as, the Muslims are taking over Europe. I mean, this guy's crazy. But the more I read, the more I start to think. This guy is a lot like me. He'd been bullied and excluded growing up. I know what that's like. When he was 13, he was caught tagging. His dad did not speak to him for years after that. When I was 13, I cut a chunk of this girl's hair in my class. Boy, did I get in trouble. I remember being pulled into the principal's office. But nobody, least of all my parents, cared to hear my side of the story. That someone also cut my hair. He and I were angry kids, and we lashed out at someone else. I was terrified, thinking how much I had in common with a mass killer. So why did he end up murdering 77 people when I became an international attorney with a beautiful family? That question led me to studying other similar killers and to writing my book. I was scared. I mean, you don't usually associate mass killer with empathy. But if you read my book, I'm hoping you realize that these young men are not a whole lot different from you or someone you know. And if we can find it in our hearts to recognize the pain that is behind any act of violence and have the humility to acknowledge that we're all capable of cruelty, we might find compassion. And compassion is key to healing and preventing the next Breivik, no matter where in the world he lives.